Hello everybody, my name is Ebon Ethos, and welcome to In a Nutshell, where we're going to talk about Trinity Prime and the two new Twitch Prime drops, which are Vectis Prime and Fang Prime. Now, if you don't know what Twitch Prime drops are, basically you run over to Twitch, as long as you're connected to an Amazon Prime, or you buy the Twitch Prime, you get a free bit of Prime weaponry. In this case, it's going to be the Vectis and the Fang Prime, with a Catalyst, a weapon slot, and I think you're also going to get it's a Syandana, that's what it's called. There we go. So, what you're looking at here is a quick little bit. I will show builds after I showcase abilities. So for now, we're gonna go to a blank slot, erase everything for all the weapons, making sure that they're all kind of at their base levels before we get started on this. So, Trinity Prime was one of my favorite Warframes for quite a long time, but Trinity Prime is very much so a support frame. She does have some ways to play more offensively. For the most part, she is a pure support frame. So what we have here is our first ability is called Well of Life. She targets an enemy, suspends them in the air, and she can shoot them. And when she does so, she gains health. Well, anyone gets health. So if you see here, Well of Life, allies will gain health when damaging the target. There's a range of 100 meters, so it's very, very far. There's a good duration on it for 12 seconds, and the lifesteal is 45%. And you get a grand total of 400 leechable health. And what that means is you're able to hit someone, and let's say you do 1,000 damage, you get 450 health back. But since it maxes out at 400 health, you only get 400 back. And then that person is completely consumed the amount of leechable health that's available. The next ability is Energy Vampire. So Energy Vampire is a weird skill. See, if you notice, when I used that Will of Life, I shot him, but now he doesn't have any missing health. So how's that work, right? Energy Vampire is an interesting skill. It releases pulses of energy very similar to an energy restore in a fairly good sized area to targets, and it does deal life damage. So it doesn't have a damage amount, which is kind of interesting, but it have a range of 100 meters, a duration of 9 seconds, energy per pulse is 25, and the radius is 25 meters. So I can affect someone who's 100 meters away from me with my Energy Vampire. But the radius that it restores energy is only 25 meters, so that's a quarter of the range. So you have to use it fairly close when you're considering most normal play. The next ability, her third ability, is Link. Now, what Link does is it forces enemies to take the same damage that they deal to her, or a percentage of it, as you can see here. It reduces my damage by 75%. And any damage taken while Link is active will be channeled to a nearby enemy. So up to 3 enemies can be affected with baseline stats. It's a 20-meter range and it lasts for 12 seconds. If you activate Link when you're around no enemies, but then you get close to enemies, it links up to them. So it's actually an ability that affects, and I'll show this here. I'll run away. See, and then I'll get them in range, and automatically they'll start to glow. I'll restore my energy here. And if you notice, I can't use any of my other abilities when those abilities are active. So it's one of those things that you have to pay attention to. Now, the last ability Trinity has, and as you can notice, only one ability really does any damage. Her last ability is called Blessing. Blessing restores the health and shields of all allies and gives them damage resistance. At basic level, it's an 80% restoration and a 50% damage reduction, lasts for 10 seconds. That's really not a bad show. See, boom, 50% damage reduction for a few seconds. This is what makes Trinity a really good frame as a support. She has an AoE heal, she has energy restoration, she has an on-target heal, and she has an ability to reduce the damage that she takes using Link. Now, we've talked about those abilities pretty well. Now we're going to cover the basics of these weapons. The Vectis Prime is a sniper rifle. You can zoom in quite a bit by clicking your middle mouse button. And the more you zoom in, you'll notice your headshot damage goes up. At regular, and then super zoom. Now normally, it's really hard to aim. That's why the zoom is almost necessary to have. So the Vectis is considered one of the best sniper rifles. It's not the best in the game, but it's considered one of the best of the game. So we'll bump these guys up to level 40, and I'm going to show you something kind of interesting. So one of the interesting things about Trinity is that I mentioned before, her second ability does not have a set amount of health damage it deals. That's because it deals a percentage of their maximum life. So if you look at this, it's going to deal the same amount of damage to a target at level 40, well, roughly, as it's going to deal to a target at level 30. Now, if I kill these guys and replace them with level 100, you'll see the same thing happens there. So kill them. Level 100s. Simulate. So these are level 100 Lancers. Look at that. This means in some missions, Trinities will have some of the highest damage output in the game. It's because of how their abilities function. Now, I will show you also how much damage this will do. Besides having a decent amount of damage, it also has a fairly good status chance and a crit chance, which means I think it's almost like 2 reloads, which actually reloads fairly quickly. No, 3 reloads. So, let's see here. How much did we miss out on ammo? I'll have to double check my ammo maximums here. I think we were at like 70% ammo. Yeah, 72. So it takes about 12 shots with a Vectis Prime to kill a level 100 Lancer, which is not bad considering the weapon is completely unmodified. Now we'll go back to level 30s here quick. And we'll kill all, then we'll simulate. That way things work out better. And we're going to show off the Fang Prime. Now the Fang Prime, oh, there's only 2 people here now. The Fang Prime are a pair of dual daggers. But as you can see, they make fairly short work of enemies, really. These are level 30s, and this weapon has no modifications. But as you can see, it crits. Those yellow numbers are crits practically all the time. So let's take a look at the builds here. So we'll start with Fang Prime. So Fang Prime surprisingly crits quite often, but it only has a 5% crit chance. And that's because there's some weird stuff that happens with Fang Prime as a dual daggers. Normally, I run a build kind of like this, that kind of does Berserk, Pressure Point, and in this circumstance, I might change out both of these for Sacrificial Steel and Sacrificial Pressure. Since most people don't have the sacrifice mods yet, we would instead jump into something that's a little bit more typical for people to be able to have. So for a typical build, most people will probably have either Spinning Needle or Sinking Talon. More often than not, they'll have, Spinning Needle, which means they're not going to get a huge benefit out of their stance, and so they're going to have to be a little bit frugal with what they choose to put on here. I always encourage people putting prime pressure point on things, or pressure point, sorry, and having it as high as they can, because it's going to add to your damage quite a bit, and you'll be surprised at how much more powerful it makes you. On top of that, True Steel, if you can get a hold of it. But even more important than True Steel, wherever it went. So it's not here. No, maybe it should be here. Organ Shatter. Organ Shatter is even a little bit more important than that. If you can get Gladiator Might, you might want to put on Gladiator Might instead of True Steel, considering how high it normally crits anyways. And so that's the basic build. If you like the weapon, then you can add more. But you'll see here, look at that, 1,000 damage now. Look how often that crits. Considering that the crit chance is only 5%, it crits so dang often. It's a little bit ridiculous. So the Fang Prime is primarily, as far as I can tell, a crit-based weapon. So we'll change a couple things out here really fast, and we'll put that on. We'll put a little bit of that, and we'll put, where is it? I want to have the focus energy, so we're going to do, see if, well, you're going to see quickly here whether corrosive damage is possible to proc on this, because I actually have never really played too much with the Fang Prime. I know that it's a good crit weapon in its own way. Yeah, it doesn't seem like its status is as often. It just crits. So I think the crit chance that's been given to this thing is a little bit understated. I think it has a much higher crit chance than what it is led on to believe. Of course, I'll pimp these out to my colors. They don't look as good, but they still look cool. And of course, daggers have a skin now. They have this really kind of neat looking skin, the Zestra dual dagger skin, which is kind of neat. Anyways. So enough about the daggers. We're going to go into the Vectis Prime. Now the Vectis Prime, as I mentioned, it has a 30% crit chance and a 30% status chance. So most people will try to build this particular thing with a slew of both, a little bit of crit and a little bit of status. So the best way to do a little bit of crit, of course, is to, oh my god, that's a fun one. Well, we're going to go for something that's more along the lines of what most people will have. So, point strike, more likely than not. People might have speed trigger, which might be a good one. Vital sense, if you have it, which most people should be able to pick it up eventually, but we'll keep that off just in case you can't. So we'll keep point strike on there. I think serration would be the only other one we could do next for some extra damage. And then we want multi-shot, if you can get a hold of it. Now, multi-shot usually is split chamber, but they also have a kind of a poor man's version, which is vigilante armaments. If you get that, that would be super, super awesome. Let's see here. And then beyond that, you have, I would greatly recommend to people to boost our slash damage. But if you can't, go ahead and just give yourself some more status potential. And I'm not sure what mods might be able to bring you that, but Hush is always a good one. The Hornicar Scope, that's a weird one. So there's another Vigilante Armlets, Deputed Rounds. So I think this is pretty much what most people will put on there, is the Point Strike and the Serration. If you have, again, we'll kind of go do that one quick, and then we will come back here and mod it for a Prime build, something that I would run more often than not. But I can show you just how dangerous this thing is. So we'll go to level 100 enemies again here, because that's probably going to showcase a little bit better what it's possible to do with it. Oops, a little bit shy there. So, as you can see, it's pretty darn hard. 2, 3, 1. Oh, that was a 1. 2, 3, 1. Okay, that's 3. 1, 2, 3. Those are about 3 shots to kill a level 100 Lancer. Now, granted, Lancers are not going to be the most common enemy you're going to find in level 100 missions, but they're still a pretty good indicator. Now, my build for the Vectis Prime would be something along the lines of, where is it? I had it. I'd probably do target acquired just for the fun of it. Multi-shot for the extra there. Oh, there's Vital Sense. I'd switch out that with Vital Sense. I already have my multi-shot from that. And 100 munitions is nice, and that might be something I put in there. But we'll double check to make sure I have everything I need. So I could even do this for the extra chance for status. I don't think I have anything else that actually increases status chance. Things that increase status duration, just not status chance. Since I have 6 more capacity, I might throw on Charge Chamber for that first extra shot. I mean, it's not 10% is not a whole bunch of damage, but we'll see. So simulate, boom. Even at a body shot, you get about 1,000. You get 12,000 on a headshot. 20,000, between 10 and 20,000 for a headshot normally. So this weapon, if used correctly, let's see here where it would start to fall off, because those are single. That's one shot, one kill. So let's max them out at 130. And see just how much it's going to take. It's as if this is going to be my limit, or if I can actually go higher. Ooh. One. Whoa. 2. 1. 2. 1. 2. So it looks like 2 shots. Well, pretty much they got level 130 Lancers. Now, of course, the real challenge comes with Bombards. Bombards are going to definitely be showing you the real power of these particular things. But we aren't going to do Bombards. We're trying to show the basics of these things here. So, lastly, we're going to talk about Trinity and how to build her. Now, Trinity has 3 distinct builds that most people run with her. The first being Energy Vampire Mode. Energy Vampire Mode is what most people run with her. And they run her with as minimal duration as possible. As minimal duration as possible. And some of you might go, whoa. Why are you dropping your duration so low? I'll show you why. With minimum duration Trinity, look at that. You see, the energy it comes out for each pulse, and the duration between the pulses is what you're trying to reduce. So you can fully restore your own energy within a heartbeat. Now, of course, beyond that is also the ability to gather the energy. Well, I have a mod on her that gives her the Energy Vampire Maneuver, which is, let's see here, an augment. Where is it? Vampire Leech. So Vampire Leech, excessive energy replenishes shields by up to 150%, and now that we have overshields, means you get that overshield charge, which is fantastic. So that's kind of something that you can theoretically not use Energy Leech, Vampire Leech, and use something different to give yourself more power. For example, you could do something along the lines of, I think we have Stretch, Augur, Reach, and the rest. You could replace that with Prime Flow to give yourself a little bit more capacity. Now, I don't think you can do it in this setup because this setup, I modded that slot specifically for augments. But you could do perhaps Augur Secrets or Streamline. You can't do Streamline. So Flow and Augur Secrets. So anything that's 7 or so you could use. So you could do Augur Secrets, which would increase your ability a bit more. So at current, 105% lifesteal from Well of Life at a 280 meter range with nearly 1,000 leechable health. That's a pretty dang big amount of health to be able to draw from, and the range is insane. Energy Vampire gets a 70 meter radius and it's a 58 energy per pulse, which means if the duration only lasts 1.35 seconds and so your pulses are about 4 pulses, then you get somewhere around 200, 250 energy after your duration elapses. Now, one of the sad things here is with Link, the enemies affected and the damage reduction is, as far as I know, unaffected by any kind of mod. Now, I could be wrong. I will definitely check that out in just a second here. But it does affect the radius in which it affects enemies. So when you look at the next one, which is Blessing, the amount of strength I have, it's 100% restoration and a 75% damage reduction, but that's the cap of Blessing's damage reduction. It's a little frustrating to some people. Now, the duration, as you can see, is 1.5 seconds, which is not at all. So when you think about how this current build, which is, if you look at it, is 280% range, 234% strength, and 110% efficiency with 15% duration. This is how a true energy vampire build should be. It needs to be the lowest duration. Your range is your primary concern after your lowest duration possible. And then strength is your next thing, because strength affects how much energy you're getting back. Now, the other build for her is, of course, the blessing build, focusing on high duration and high power strength. Now, the actual amount of power strength that you need to have to get that point of 75% reduction, I'm not 100% sure. But it is true to say that having 235% power strength is still pretty good. If you drop if you drop an energy vampire on a target, even if it takes forever for it to hit, and then at least you're going to be getting, 50, 60 energy every time that thing hit. And if the enemy dies, you get all the energy right away. So it's actually a good way. This is actually a semi-decent build for energy vampire as well, but it's not as powerful or as useful as this low duration build. So most people will run somewhere in between these two, somewhere in between the high range and strength and duration. Most people, this will be an economy build. Once again, this will be an economy build that people should be using, I guess you could say, in order to make themselves as useful as possible at low levels. More often than not, you will have energy. You'll pick up energy siphon through trading. You might find yourself with physique or rifle amp or rejuvenation, and who knows? Maybe you don't have any of these auras. If you do have an aura that if you do have one of these couple to choose from, always go with rejuvenation, because rejuvenation is going to give you a few more mod capacity, but also it makes your Trinity heal its allies passively. So it's a little bit more supportive. Or Energy Siphon's another one, but Energy Siphon is the correct polarity. I usually go with Energy Siphon because it's the right polarity for me, as well as the fact that it gives energy back, which is one of Trinity's biggest benefits, is she gives a lot of energy. She's not the best damage reducer. She's not the best healer to some degrees, but she does give good energy regeneration, and that's her main focus. Eventually, I'm sure they're going to change how Trinity works, so this video, maybe 6 months from now, is not going to be viable. But when that comes, we'll figure things out from there. So basically, Energy Siphon's the first one most people would run. When it comes to her slots, of course, I have these already modded. But you should be, as I mentioned before, always looking at your vitality and your redirection. If you've played a frame that you've never played before, focus on giving them more health and more shields. Armor, as you can see, it goes up to 31, is crap. 31 armor is nothing. You should be relying more on your health and your shields to save you and your abilities than worrying about your armor. So if you can avoid having to deal with it, don't deal with it. Now, these should be your two staples in most of your builds, is redirection and vitality. I mean, those are pretty much everyone's staples in their build. Now, Trinity has a little bit of a unique situation where a good one to have along with it is one of these other ones, like Antitoxin or Aviator. Well, not Antitoxin or Warm Coat or Flame Repellent, that prevents her from dying from certain elements. Now, I will make this point very clear. If you're going against the infested, Antitoxin. Just in general, Antitoxin is probably your best friend against most enemies. The Corpus usually don't have toxin people. The Greniers sometimes do. So I always usually run Antitoxin in general on a starting build if I have it, because it's going to prevent my frame from dying so easily to toxin procs. If you have them, you should have Intensify. You should be putting that on your frame right off the bat. If you have Continuity, you should be using that only if you want to be doing your Link or be doing your Blessing more. If you're not wanting to do your Link or your Blessing, you want to give people energy and give people healing, don't worry about your duration. Focus more on your strength and your range. So strength otherwise kind of a blank slate there, but in the range, you might be able to pick up a stretch. If you do have a stretch, definitely put it into your build somewhere. Make sure you have it because it's going to give you that extra 45% range. If you pick up Augur Reach from the bounties in Cetus, put that on there, and then just keep moving on from that. If you get Augur Secrets, great. If you get Augur Message, don't use it. Now, if this is all you can use for your build, that's fine. If this is all you have for your build, really, that's okay. It's okay to be mediocre when it comes to Trinity, as long as you have a good, decent range, a good power strength. The few things that you should focus on getting a hold of at some point down the line are Fleeting Expertise. The Fleeting Expertise, as you saw with Energy Vampire mode, is how you get that ability duration so low, and then Transient Fortitude, which gets it even lower. So these two together give you the lowest duration possible currently. Beyond that, Overextended for ability range, Cunning Drift for more ability range. The drift mods are acquired through the moon on Lua, which you get after a certain period of time. And there are a bunch of challenges that are kind of funky. And you will probably have to find groups of people to do them. They're really kind of challenging to do by yourself unless you have certain warframes. Now, Overextended, Transient Fortitude, and Fleeting Expertise, and Blind Rage, these 4 mods are what are called Vault mods. Vault mods comes from the Orokin Derelict, which I will show you in a second here. So we'll go back to my orbiter here. The Orokin Derelict is a limited mission type that you have to get keys for. That's over here in the top corner. So you go top right, and that's the Derelict right there. You have these different mission types. You have to buy the keys blueprint from the market, and then you can build them. I think they take between a minute and an hour to build. So we'll go down here. And then when you get the blueprints, they will be in the keys section of your foundry, along with the dragon keys if you have them. Oh, I should build another one of those. So you'll have the assassin, the derelict, the capture, defense, and so on. You build them, they all take 1 minute except for the assassination, which you need to get the coordinates for anyway, so don't worry about it. And you can build them, they cost basic materials. They're really simple. Now, one of the things you have to focus about in these keys is the enemies you're going to be fighting in there are going to be kind of higher leveled. But most people who are looking for the relics or those particular mods, the corrupted mods, they'll do an Orokin Derelict capture, or they'll do an Orokin Derelict exterminate. Survival, sabotage, assassinates, and defenses. Assassinates can have the vaults. They often don't have the vaults. So it's easier just to do the 2 missions that are fairly one shot and done, which is like the capture mission and the exterminate. Remember, now that they've made some changes, enemies will still show up in them. They just won't show up as often. So, and then you'll have to search everywhere. The vault doors look very much like the keys themselves. They're mostly white, but they have this beautiful gold color to them. So I'll show you what the keys look like again. So these are you need to equip one of these keys into your gear wheel. They cost void traces and ferrite, otherwise they're fairly cheap. The doors look just like the decaying and the hobbled dragon keys, what they look like. They kind of have this big white thing, and and you walk up to it and it says, put a key in, and one of the door will either be for bleeding, decaying, extinguished, or hobbled. The door is specific to the certain dragon key. Now, I will go into more depth about the vaults later in a tutorial video that will be coming up, so I won't go too much into them. But again, just to make sure people know, Trinity Prime is, yes, she's a Prime. But the only things that are different about her is that she has a couple slots that are polarized, a little higher energy pool. She does not have better energy. She does not have better armor, health, or shields, or power, strength, or anything else. She just doesn't. Now, before I go, I will show people where to get Trinity herself. So the Trinity Warframe can be acquired from Pluto on Hades, which is right here. So this is Ambulus. Anyways, so this is the boss you need to fight in order to get Trinity herself. And of course, whenever you do a boss mission to get parts for certain warframes, it's going to take a few runs. It's not going to be Did it 3 times, got all the parts, now I can go get the Warframe. Not so how it works. Usually might take 15 or 20, who knows? It's a farming game. So that right there is the basics of Trinity. She is a good, very good support player, and if you build her for her Link, which again, you can't do more than 3 targets at once, it seems, as far as I know. If you build her for her Link, you'll be running her with a combination of Blessing and Energy Vampire. So it'll probably be something along the lines of, you'll probably do the, let's see here, you'll do range, so you'll be going with Transient, you'll go with Overextended. You'll also want to put on there, you want as much range as you can, so you'll be putting on Augur Reach and Stretch. That will give you your max amount of range, besides, of course, your Drift. Boop. And then you want to run with enough duration to actually make it worth your time. So Prime Continuity, if you have that, you could run things like Constitution, Narrow Might, no, not Narrow Might, where is it? Augur Message. That's going to give you your 207, and that's going to make your Link have a good duration and a good radius, but because strength doesn't affect damage reduction to enemies affected, it's not necessary. So besides all of that, those are the 3 kinds of builds that Trinity usually runs. This is a Link kind of build. You have Energy Vampire and you have Blessing, and they're all a little different. So I hope you guys have enjoyed watching this. I've been a little bit scatterbrained with this video. There's been a lot going on in my life. But if you liked the video, please leave a like, a comment if you can. If you disliked the video, let me know in the comment section what I could do better about this build, this video in particular. Again, this is a how to play more than how to build. So if you want to know more about how to play her, let me know if that's what I'm doing wrong. I'll do a little bit more about how to play. And until next time, everybody, I hope you enjoy the rest of your week, and thank you, everybody, so much for watching. It's been a blast. Bye, everyone.